Hello, today I am talking about the Enneagram and repressed centers. So there are three centers of intelligence: head, heart, and gut, which is thinking, feeling, and doing. And depending on which type you are on the Enneagram, you fall into one of those categories as your dominant center. We also each have a repressed center, which means this is the center, either thinking, feeling, or doing, that we really don't use. And it takes a lot of intentionality to get that into action. But it's important that we do that so that we can balance out our centers. So types ones, twos, and sixes are thinking repressed. And I remember the first time I heard this, I thought, I cannot possibly be thinking repressed. I'm thinking all the time. And that's because these numbers think a lot, but the thinking is unproductive. So ones, such as myself, think about the conversation they're having with their inner critic, and they're constantly engaged in this sort of conversation in their head, but it's not actually productive thinking. It's more of an argumentative commentary. So to help this, some people say they give their inner critic a name, so they can say like, Ross, shut up. Or also, if you wake up in the morning and just, type it out, journal it out, everything you're thinking, feeling, it's sort of a form of processing, and then you can forget about it and go about your day. Type two spend a lot of time thinking about relationships. So much time on relationships, and they don't realize that there's so much more to think about other than relationships. And it's almost a guarantee that the person you're spending so much time thinking about isn't spending as much time thinking about you or replaying that scenario or situation that you are in your head. So for twos, find an interesting hobby and pursue it. That'll give you something to think about instead. And do relationship check-ins. Hey, are we good? That way you don't have to spend the time in your head wondering. Type sixes take in information with thinking, but they don't use thinking to process it. They struggle with anxiety and constantly planning for things that are likely not going to happen, which uses a lot of thinking and brain power. So what will help is recognizing the anxiety, asking those close to you to be patient with that anxiety that can sometimes be unwarranted, and journal everything you're worried about happening. So here's all the things that I'm anxious about. And then go back, after a couple of weeks and ask yourself, how much of this actually happened? And for what did happen, were you able to manage it? Because that turns the unproductive thinking into looking at everything that you're able to do and trusting yourself. So those numbers are thinking repressed. Doing repressed. Fours, fives, and nines, they are gut repressed. They spend a lot of time thinking and a lot of time feeling, but not so much doing. And that's a result of lacking self-assurance, confidence, or initiative. So fours get caught up in longing, and they focus on what they want to do instead of doing what actually needs to get done, especially the mundane things in life: laundry, paying bills. So for fours, create some sort of structure throughout your week so that you have set times to do certain things. And eat your frogs first. Get the things you least want to do over and done with so you can move about more freely and not have to worry. Fives do a lot of planning without actually taking steps to put in motion the things that they're planning and thinking about. So planning to get this project started, planning to redo the kitchen. So for fives, set time to gather and plan and then act. Be okay proceeding with a limited amount of information, knowing that you don't need to know everything before you can actually move into that action step. And then nines can identify what needs to get done, but they don't know what's theirs to do or how to prioritize that and what they should do first, which then leads to a lack of doing. Nines get distracted by whatever's right in front of them. So if they're on their way to, do the dishes, and then they see, oh, my cat litter box needs to be scooped, they're going to scoop that. And then a friend calls, and then they do that, and the dishes never get taken care of. So for nines, find a trusted someone to help you prioritize, someone who is not doing repressed, that can help you figure out this should be done first, this needs to be done soon. And then make a running list, keep it going, cross things off. And then lastly, we have the numbers that are feeling repressed, which are threes, sevens, and eights. All of these numbers have feelings, but in a way that suits them. and they need to learn to be present to various emotional situations. So 3s take in information with feeling, but don't use feeling to process it. Essentially, they will turn off their motivations to power through and get the job done and excel. So for 3s, take time to ask others how they felt about a situation instead of focusing just on, did I solve your problem? And fully engage in relationships through sitting in uncomfortable feelings long enough to actually connect with others and not just brush past and move on to whatever's next. 7s have a half range of emotions. They love all the positive emotions and excitement and fun, but they will do everything they can to avoid those negative emotions. They're really good at reframing. Well, being sad about this isn't going to help, so I'll just go, do the next thing. So for 7s, visualize what it might look like to be scared, sad, lonely. You don't have to feel those things yet, but just visualize it so you can sort of dip in and get comfortable. And then know that life requires negative emotions because life is messy and there are certain situations that we can't control. And you are capable of feeling those negative feelings and moving forward and being okay. And then lastly, 8s are really passionate. They're passionate about everything they do, and they substitute this passion as feeling. However, passion itself is not a feeling, it's an outward expression of feeling. So 8s are really good at mimicking and learning to express themselves in ways that look like they're feeling, but they're not actually feeling and processing their emotions. So for 8s, slow down. Work to understand your feelings. What's behind that passion? And be patient with other people expressing their feelings. Not just getting through it and bearing through it so that, you can move on to what's next, but really being present in that process. I hope that gave you a little bit more information on the Enneagram and repressed centers. As I mentioned, we really need all 3 of those centers, head, heart, and gut, in order to be our best selves. So think about your repressed center, identify where it's showing up for you, and then you can choose if you want to continue to repress that or move forward in a way different than you normally operate. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you in the next video.